It's estimated that over 371 million people suffer from diabetes globally. Of these, 4.6 million die each year from the disease. Kenya has over 2 million people living with diabetes type 1, which is also referred to as childhood onset diabetes. Type 1 diabetes is caused by inability of the pancreas to produce insulin. Diabetes' high occurrence in the country is blamed on poor dieting, genetics, and unhealthy lifestyles. Now, its prevalence is expected to rise to 6.7% by 2025 if no preventive measures are put in place. Now, among those with diabetes in Kenya, 25,000 are children and adolescents. Well, we'll now go straight to our talk studio for the discussion with Janet.
All right, thank you so much for that, Hussein. Just looking at those statistics, we can see a worrying trend there. If you look at projections in the future, non-communicable diseases are certainly going to be the leading cause of death. And we have a diabetologist in studio who will give us some insight. Shortly, we'll also be hearing from Marion. Marion is 13 years old. She got diabetes when she was 11, so she's been living with it for 2 years now. So we're going to get a little bit of her own story in terms of how she discovered it and how she's managing it. And her mother, Lucy, will also give us her own 2 cents on managing diabetes, or how to manage a child who has diabetes. Dr. Ngugi, I think it's important that we go straight into what is diabetes and what causes it, briefly.
Thank you, Janet. Thank you, viewers. Diabetes is a chronic disease that basically comes when your body is not able to handle sugars, and your sugar levels goes above the level that is normal for most people. Usually when your sugar goes above 7, when you have not eaten fasting, then a diagnosis of diabetes is made. Or if it goes above 11 after 2 hours after eating, then a diagnosis of diabetes is made.
So what's the normal reading, you said?
The normal reading should be between 4 and 7.
Okay.
Most times.
You'll tell us more about that a little later on. There are 2 types of diabetes, type 1 and type 2. What's the difference? The
type 1 diabetes usually affects young people from the age of infants. We have as young people as 6 months with diabetes, all the way up to 30 years of age. Although there's an overlap between 19 years and maybe 40, you can get type 1 diabetes. And type 2 usually occurs to more mature people. But lately, in the recent, maybe the last 1 decade, we have type 2 affecting younger children from the age of 7. And this is because basically of lifestyle. Now, type 1 diabetes, the real type 1 is what we call an autoimmune disease. That basically we think the body develops antibodies, but antibodies are like, say, those helps you fight germs.
Okay.
That, so, that they attack your pancreas, and they decrease the capacity of your pancreas to produce insulin.
So you said 6 months. So is, correct me if I'm wrong, someone born with it, or you know what?
There is diabetes that you can be born with, or in the first 1 week of infancy. But that's a different type of diabetes. But the actual type 1 that gets antibodies, we have a group that we look after in our organization, and we have, as young people as 6 months, we have 1 child who was 6 months.
Okay.
So we develop from that age of 6 months and onwards.
Before we go to Marion, why does type 1 affect more younger people and children?
As I said, there has been very many theories. One time we thought it was a viral infection. That you develop virus before you maybe 1 year of age, and then you develop antibodies against those viruses. And those antibodies later on attack your pancreas. But there has been very many theories, including vitamin D, lack of vitamin B, because you realize type 1 diabetes is much more common in temperate countries than around the equator.
I see.
And as you come down to the equator, the incidences go down. Finland has among the highest incidences. As you go down, New Zealand has more cases than around the equator. So the sun has been implicated. Okay.
And just again, final question before we move on. Once they get it at the age of 6 months, 1 year, you live with it for life?
Yes, diabetes, unfortunately, is not a curable disease, but I must emphasize, it's a manageable disease, because I think people panic.
Yeah, we'll come back to how to manage it very shortly. Marion, first of all, thank you for coming on the show, for just being able to come and share your story. I really admire you for that. You're 13 years old now. You're managing your life with diabetes. So tell us about the day you discovered you had diabetes, or the time leading up to the day you discovered.
I woke up like in the morning, and I was really, as in, very, very tired and weak. So, and my mom had been suspecting that I had diabetes. And so she decided to take me to a clinic that's nearby. And I got tested. and my blood sugar came to 17.4.
17.
Yeah.
Wow, which is really high.
High.
How did you feel when you found out you had diabetes? Were you scared? Were you anxious? How did you feel?
I panicked.
Yeah. Why did you panic?
Because I didn't know what it was at that time. I thought it was like really serious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you thought it was serious. So how do you now live with it? I mean, you go to school every day. I was just talking to you about your schedule because you're a Class 8 candidate. And when I spoke to you the other day, you said you're in class from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. on a Saturday. So that seems really heavy. How do you manage all that, the schedule, etc., and still manage to live with diabetes?
It all comes with planning. You have to plan your time properly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll just now I'll ask you about the medication. Lucy, I know I was speaking to you a few days ago, and you say that initially, I think you'd both been going for tests. Did you say that, and then you kind of, there was a 2-year lapse before you heard about this?
I used to go with her to work, to where I used to work, and she'd get tested. Then I just stopped having her tested.
Why were you getting her tested?
Because her father had diabetes.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the reason.
All right, fine. And then, so after some time, you stopped?
Yeah, we just stopped. And then slowly I noticed she was taking lots of water, she was getting thirsty. And one day my sister visited us, and the whole afternoon she kept on visiting the washroom. So the following morning is when she was not able to go to school. Yeah, she was fatigued and she was tired. She was telling me she didn't want to go to school. So once she went and got tested in the at the place where we live, they found that she has her sugars were 17.
Yeah.
By the time we got admitted in the afternoon, they were so high.
Was there a part of you that wishes you had continued going for those tests to have managed that?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, but you just learned to live with it. What are the major challenges as a parent having a child with diabetes on a day-to-day basis?
For one, you have to change your diet. Because with diabetes management, mostly is the diet and the insulin. So you change her diet, you change what she takes to school. You can no longer have juice, junk. And you've heard she has a long day. So you have to have like 2 snacks in a day, plus her lunch. Yeah, and no juice, maybe yogurt.
Okay.
Unflavored yogurt and milk.
Okay.
Yeah.
How have you adjusted to the diet, Marian? Are you now used to it, or do you sometimes struggle with trying to adjust to the diet?
I'm used to it.
You're used to it?
Yeah.
So a lot of vegetables, I think you were telling me.
Yeah.
Lots of no more junk food.
Yeah.
What have your friends, what do your friends know about diabetes? Were they curious about it? Did they ask you any questions about it?
Yeah. I
Okay.
tell them all about it, and I advise them on their diet. Yeah.
Oh, wow, so even if they don't have it, for you, you feel like younger people need to have a different diet.
Yeah.
Okay, you might just become a specialist one day on that. And one thing we're talking about, Doctor, and I think Lucy has brought it up, awareness. Before we go into management of the disease, you had mentioned that there isn't enough awareness, for instance, in schools, etc. Would you like to comment on that and the fact that, for instance, maybe her teachers or her classmates may not know? What do you feel needs to be done to create that awareness in schools?
I feel that people should be more educated on diabetes. There's an organization called DMI. They try to visit schools. They have a few children they take care of. They visit their schools. They have a counselor who counsels you in case, you know, when you get diabetes, at first there's denial. It's just like any other problem. By the time you get to acceptance, you'll have gone through a lot because, you know, it affects you from emotionally, financially. Because especially the strips are quite expensive. The medicine is also expensive. She has to get the jabs 3 times in a day. She has to do the testing every day.
Okay. It takes a toll. It takes a toll. We'll take some of your questions now on SMS and on Twitter, some of your comments as well. For instance, Mukinda says Marian is very great and very mature. So a lot of people respecting you for coming out at such a young age and talking to us. And then we have a question here from Atetiang Eliamord asking, what forms of eating habits subjects one to the risks of developing diabetes, doctor?
Basically, type 1 is not, I don't think one can say there are dietary habits that cause type 1. But type 2 is a more lifestyle disease, whereby eating high-calorie food, high-fat diet. High-calorie means that you're getting very quick sugars in your system. That means sodas, very super refined foods, extremely fatty foods. And also the amount of food people are eating. Because I think it's the double-decker burgers or whatever 1 liter sodas that are so much calories, so much calories that cause this, and then the laziness or not doing a lot of exercise. Okay, so again, it's lifestyle. You can manage your lifestyle and all in all manage. And studies have shown that lifestyle does prevent type 2 diabetes. Someone is asking whether children with diabetes can be involved in sports, and you said that was an interesting question earlier. It is interesting because diabetes, people should live normal lives with caution. The thing about exercise is that one has to know what to do the day before games, the time before games, and after games. Basically, before games, one is supposed to have a snack, test your sugars, make sure your sugar is not low or very high. Then halfway down your game, if you're playing football, halftime you must eat a snack. And then the day after after the sports, in the evening one, the mother should be more vigilant, testing sugars at night, maybe waking up the child at 2 a.m., testing the sugar, making sure they don't have hypo. And as they grow older, there are some sports that, like if you're doing a marathon, you need to know you have to carry something in between, you have to take bites in between, small drinks of juice. So I think it's like you have to eat continuously during the exercise. Have breaks more often. If you're playing for a team, then you have to be called out maybe at like 30 minutes. You should not have intensive exercise for more than 30 minutes. So it's about managing it basically. That's what Mariam said, management. Exactly. Lucy, do you have to check up on her again? He's mentioned perhaps sometimes in the morning, if it's 2 in the morning, or what are those hours like for you in terms of making sure that her sugar levels are where they need to be?
No, we are used to it now. And now she's comfortable, I can say. She even goes for sleepovers. She goes up country with her family. Even for 2 weeks, she takes care of herself. She knows what to eat. She knows how to take her medication. That's good. It's about learning. You just learn to live with it. You accept it. And you live with it. All right. Let's look at the medication, and maybe Marian and Dr. Ngugi, you can talk us through what it is that you have. And then later on we'll go into cost, because a lot of people are talking about cost. So maybe you can hold up the packets for us, both of you. You can take it up and hold it up. Type 1 diabetes usually is managed with insulin. And these are lifelong engagement with insulin. And insulin comes in various modalities in this country. You can just hold it up. There is insulin that looks like water. Marian, open that. And that there's insulin that looks like milky. And these are 2 different types of insulin. The one that's clear is actually insulin that has not been altered at all. And it's short-acting. Short-acting. Now, insulin that's milky has been altered. Is that the one? Yes. Has been altered. Other chemicals have been put in it to make it last longer in the body. So that Marian is able to inject herself this insulin that's a mixed insulin in the morning. It has a combined short-acting and a long-acting insulin. It will deal with her breakfast, and the long-acting will deal with whatever happens in between morning and lunchtime. But because, and it's important that viewers understand that when you have diabetes, you need to know what your targets are. Very critical, because many people fail to manage their diabetes in the long term because they don't understand their targets. And target is, what are your goals, sugars? What do you want your sugar level to be after I eat and before I eat? And it's different from person to person? No, it's the same. But you must, but at different lives, at different stages, when you're sick, it must be. But the target, overall target is, you want your fasting sugars below 7. So when you're using this insulin, is to get your target level there. You also want your sugars after eating to be below 10. I see. And then there's another test we test 3 monthly called HbA1c that has been shown to be a good indicator of good control. And you want that HbA1c to be below 6.5. So when you're using this insulin, so like lunchtime, Marian told me before the break that she, where's the other insulin?
It's here.
Okay.
She uses this one for lunch. She would use a small dose at lunchtime. How much do you use?
4.
4 units.
Okay.
This boosts this is able to help deal with the lunch, immediately the sugar that comes from lunch. Then she will give herself this other dose in the evening, which is a mixed insulin that will also cover through the night.
All right. And then we have the, I think you also brought a device that I believe you say is...
Yeah, it's a glucometer.
Okay, maybe we can see that.
Yeah.
We can just...
And as Marion is opening, it's important to know that type 1, for you to be able to achieve better control, you must test your sugars frequently. Many people test up to 4 times a day.
Okay.
You test in the morning when you wake up, you test mid-morning, any crisis you test before lunch, you test before dinner. And young people, generally maybe not Marion's age, a little bit younger, who can have problems at night without knowing, you must always test the sugar before you sleep.
Okay. And do you test it by using what you're holding in your hand?
Yes, these gadgets. And there are very many in the market. And this, to me, is the greatest challenge in terms of cost.
Exactly. We're going to come to that because a lot of people are telling me it's so expensive. It's an expensive disease to manage.
Yes.
Okay. So how much does a gadget
These
like that?
gadgets would cost like between 3,000 and 4,000.
Uh-huh.
But the cost of the gadgets is not the one. Because if you imagine Marion is going to test, like, say, 4 times a day, in a month you'll have spent like 120 strips. That's 3 bottles. That's those ones will be costing 3,000. That's 6,000.
Okay, 6,000 in the month.
Yes, that is if she's testing the way she's supposed to.
If she's testing the way she's supposed to.
Test.
Maybe you can enlighten us, Lucy. And some people are asking, cost-wise, you don't need to give us specifics, but what's the bracket financially that the toll that it takes on you in terms of medication for Marion and managing diabetes for her? What do you spend in a month roughly?
I don't think I'm able to estimate because at times it's not just the drugs. At times she'll get up, the sugar is so high, she doesn't have to go to school. You have to go see the doctor. The unpaid bills, pending, even as I'm speaking.
Yeah.
So I think it's quite a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, but maybe at this point I would say I would thank DMI, the Njoroges, the Agundas for their input.
Yeah.
And to our friends. Yeah, because I know without them,
so at least they support you.
I would not, should not, it
would be difficult to manage.
Yeah.
And this is just, you're saying it's other factors, but for the medication itself, I've seen people costing different ones, 20,000, 25,000. So you're looking at those kinds of variables.
Let's look at this. Let's look at type 1 diabetes. We have said there is a cost of insulin. There's a cost of strips. The diet that one is going to, that Marion's mother must pack a snack that is healthy, snack, break time, and at 4 is important. But when she gets sick, is a different matter. The doctor's visits. And if you're going to use, because this what she's using is what I would call the cheapest of the insulin regimen that can be.
Yeah.
Kids like Marion, maybe they should be carrying pens to school.
Okay.
Because this one has a problem of carrying insulin pen. It's slightly also more expensive than this one.
Okay.
And it's carried differently. And it's convenient for her when she's going for sleepover. And this is a situation, this is what we get from government, that we don't get in any government hospital. We don't get those insulin pen. We get this sometimes.
Okay.
We have children that come from all the way from Nyamira to come and pick insulin in DMI. So you find distribution of insulin, so availability, even getting the right way is tough, but even getting it.
Availability is also an issue.
And I must also say that type 1 diabetes, lack of insulin can cause death.
Okay.
Like when Marion woke up that day when she was weak, it was not sugar per se, she was in a situation we call ketoacidosis.
So it could have become something really...
much more complicated. If her mother was not a nurse, did not take her to hospital that day, the following day should have a different person.
Okay.
Because it can go into coma and cause more problems.
Wow. All right. Marion, can you tell us a little bit about, I know you've talked about the fact that you're used to living with it. Do you ever get low? Are there ever moments when you feel like this is a lot, you know, you constantly have to think about your medication, you constantly have... Do you tell us about those days? What happens? What is it that goes through your mind?
I'm usually just wonder, as in, why do I have to take all this? Yeah.
And then what do you say to yourself to move on?
not a life sentence. It's not a death sentence.
Wow. And then you're telling me you want to be a pediatrician.
Yeah.
Is it because of because of having diabetes?
Yes.
So you'd be passionate about making sure children are well and that kind of thing.
Yes.
Wow. I love that you've said it's not a life sentence. I think a lot of people need to hear that. I know a lot of people are asking me, doctor, is diabetes curable? We just need to say a resounding no. It's not curable, but it's manageable.
Yes.
Okay, so a lot of you have been asking me if it's curable, to ask the doctor, but it's manageable and not curable, and we've heard how. Right, let's now get our closing comments from our panelists before Hussein Mohammed joins me for some of your feedback. Lucy, what are your final words? I know that you wanted to encourage perhaps parents who have children who have diabetes. What would you want to say to them?
I would want to say that in any illness, there are always needs surrounding it. So if you see that your child is ill, take them to the doctor, let them have checked, let them have a checkup, and then you get treatment. You don't let people tell you, drink this, eat this, go see this other person. No. Someone might tell you, you know, Kenyans, someone will tell you, oh, these days this is the in thing. I don't want to mention what it is. And then maybe you go taking it, you leave your medication, go to this other thing, and you find that.
Okay. So go with what the doctor has recommended.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Thank you for that. Marion, you already said something so powerful about it not being a life sentence, but what else would you like to share?
I'd like to tell people to have healthy diets and also have more physical exercises. Yeah.
All right. And for your age mates who are watching this and living with it and are discouraged, what would you like to say to them?
Just as I said before, diabetes is not a life sentence.
Okay.
Yeah.
End of
Just
story.
still live with it, yeah.
Okay. Thank you, doctor.
Thank you very much. I think what I'd like to encourage parents, and especially Marion here, that we have many colleagues of mine, some who had diabetes at the age of 10, now they're physicians, they're doctors, so that diabetes should not be an impediment to your destination in life, so that you should live your life to the fullest. But more so important, that can only be achieved if as a family everybody participates, and also as communities we participate, especially to the young, the diabetic patients, so that it's not a burden that individually one can carry alone without the help of others. So that I would like parents to participate and not to think that your children is on their own when they are, because when Marion becomes a teenager, there'll be other issues that will come in. So there are those things that require participation from everybody involved, and everybody to be encouraged that, like Marion said, it's not a death sentence, and you can achieve anything you want to achieve in life.
All right. Thank you all so much for your encouraging comments, your feedback. For a lot of people watching and saying, you know, I'm stressed, I have it, what's going to happen? I think it's encouraging to understand, get checked, make sure you check your sugar levels and just manage it. Let's see if we can take some of your feedback on Twitter and SMS. Let's see if we have anything for you. Okay, at Etiang Eliamot says, minding what to eat and what not to eat are among the important decisions that we can make for our lives.
At Shiro, I believe, lost my dad in the year 2000. Diabetes is actually becoming an epidemic. Marion is such a strong girl.
At Maina Wamurimi says, Marion is so bold. Thank you for her courage of enlightening those in the dark. Thanks to Mom and the doc as well. Of course, that's Lucy and Dr. Ngugi.
At Ganjoka, I think it's time the government sensitize people on it, like other serious illnesses.
And at Edwin Munene 95 says, diabetes is an expensive condition. Unfortunately, it's not given enough attention. Very true, which is what we were talking about just now. I don't know whether you have some SMSs,
Right,
Hussein?
I have one. Did it say who he or she is or where he's texting from? For the management of diabetes, the government should consider removing the VAT on the drugs. Buying healthy food is not cheaper either.
Yeah, and then finally, you don't say your name or where you're writing from, but you do say, I'm a parent of a diabetic child the same age as Marion, and I'm encouraged by her story. So again, thank you to our panelists, and thank you all so much for watching Monday's special. Have a good night. I'm Janet Mbugua.
I'm Hussein Mohammed. Have a good night.